Never rely on motivation to do your work, because motivation comes and it goes. Discipline is far more reliable. How many times have you heard something related to this in the self-help community? It sounds great in theory, but you can't just magically become disciplined after listening to this. For so long, I wanted to crack the code as to why I always left my work till the very last minute, or I just didn't do my work at all. To show you exactly why you can't stay disciplined, I'm going to take you through the first 2 years of my high school career compared to the last 2 years and the dramatic shift that I saw in the change in my grades. And as I'm going through this story, I want you to try and figure out why I couldn't stay disciplined for the first 2 years of my high school, and then like a click of a button, it changed dramatically. So freshman year and sophomore year of high school were really tough for me, and even middle school was in terms of getting good grades. I really had no reason to get good grades at all.
A little smile for the camera. Stop.
Nothing could possibly get me to try as hard as my peers were. And yes, I was hanging out with kids who were doing well in school, and not even the influence of them doing well could get me to do any sort of actual work for high school. Seriously, I think the extent of my studying in high school was reading like a chapter a day before the test just to tell my parents that like I did something to prepare for my tests. Freshman year was especially bad. I actually failed English one quarter. It might have been even more than one quarter. And my parents had to come in and we had a whole parent-teacher conference about it with the teacher. And after that, and after any time that I was doing bad in school, they would just turn to me and say, "Cole, why are you like this? Why don't you want to do your work?" All I had to say to them was that I just didn't care. I really didn't care about getting good grades because I didn't see a point. Jeez, my voice got high right there. Then sophomore year, I finally had my first big breakthrough with discipline. Ironically, it was actually in my English class. We had a huge project to do that spanned, I think, the entire quarter, so like a couple months. The project was to bring in some outside idea and relate it to the book that we were reading at the time, which was called Cloud Atlas. If you aren't familiar with this book, it's a novel that contains 6 nested stories. And these stories take the reader from the remote South Pacific in the 19th century to the island of Hawaii in a distant post-apocalyptic future. I had to read that off Wikipedia because I honestly kind of forgot what the book was about. I just remembered that there's nested stories in the book. This was also right around the time I was starting to get into programming and computer science, and I was teaching myself Java through YouTube and HTML and CSS through codecademy.com. And as I was growing a big passion towards these things, the idea came to me to relate programming to that book. This was the first time I'd ever been that dedicated to a school project or assignment and actually push myself to go above and beyond with the work and stay disciplined to push out something that was really great. And because of it, I ended up getting a really good grade. It was then that I realized what I wanted to do for college, and I realized that computer science was the career that I wanted to pursue. So the summer after sophomore year rolls around and talks about which colleges people were going to were buzzing around my friend group. And I was like, colleges? Wait, shit, yeah, I have to prepare for that. So what colleges do I want to go to? Also, what grades do I need to get into these colleges? And what will that lead to? As many of you know, computer science is a great career to pursue financially, and also I had a passion for it, so I'm like, okay, let's find a good college for computer science. As I was looking through these schools, I realized that the colleges that I wanted to go to for computer science required much higher grades than the grades that I had gotten in my first 2 years of high school. Finally, I understood the importance of getting good grades in high school, and finally I had a reason for getting good grades. The first quarter of junior year came in September, and it was the hardest and most disciplined that I've ever worked on probably anything during that time, even in the classes that I didn't enjoy or that I wasn't good at. And for the first time in high school, or maybe ever, I don't know, it might have been ever, I got straight A's. It gave me confidence in what I was capable of, and then that year, my GPA was pretty close to a 4.0. So did you catch why this happened? Did you catch why it was so hard for me to stay disciplined before, and then in a blink of an eye, I got grades close to a 4.0? It is because I finally had my why. I finally had a reason to stay disciplined. The same can be said about the office job that you might have that you don't like. If you don't have a reason for doing the work in the office job to do better, to get a promotion, then you're gonna do shittier work. It needs to be bigger than that. It needs to be, I'm working in this office job right now as hard as possible because I know that if I continue to do this, I'll have enough money saved up to start to pursue the things in life that I really want to pursue. And I've kind of gone over the same concept before in my video about bulking up and building muscle. So the first reason why it's so hard for you to stay disciplined is because you don't have a target to shoot at. Without a goal, you can't score. And this reason needs to be concrete enough and easy to digest so that you can accurately visualize what this future would look like if you were to stay disciplined. So for me, I have a very concrete goal with the thing that I really need to stay disciplined with, which is making these YouTube videos. And that is that I want to continue making YouTube videos and start to make a living off of this. And I want that more than anything else. And so on the days where I'm really not motivated enough to edit the next video or film the next video, which does happen pretty often, believe it or not, even though I really love making these videos, the one thing that gets me through it is that I have to do this or else I'm not gonna make a living off of it. This is the crucial first step, and it needs to be something very detailed. It needs to not be, I'm doing this because I wanna be happier in the future. No, it has to have some sort of concrete goal. And also what I want you to do is write this down somewhere just so you can remind yourself why you're staying disciplined in the thing that you want to stay disciplined in. Another thing that I've identified that makes it hard to stay disciplined, even when you have a really strong why, is not having a deadline. To relate this back to my why, making YouTube videos for a living, for me, I have decided to put the deadline on myself, I guess that's what you can call it, to make at least 2 videos a week. So my schedule looks something like film one day, next day I edit that video, and then the next day I don't do anything, I just take like a rest day, and then I repeat that, and that allows me to put out 2 videos a week. Because I have a deadline that I have to meet in order to make my why come true without sacrificing the quality of my videos, then I have something to shoot at, something to score at, and I have it in a good time period. And what setting a deadline really does is not only puts a little bit of pressure on yourself, which I want to talk about, but it also just helps you narrow down your goal, your why. So first off, you can have your why and write that down, and then when you write down when you want to make it happen, or the steps that you need to make it happen, and when you want each step to be completed, like an exact date or time, then you're narrowing down your goal more and more, which makes you more likely to stay disciplined to that thing. This is why we're so good at cramming or getting so much done for an assignment or project or studying for a test right the night before or day before that it's due. Every other day before that, you just simply can't get yourself to do it. But then you apply that pressure of a deadline, and you need pressure in your life if you want to have discipline when you don't have motivation to do something. So write down your why and write down the deadline for the steps to get to that why, or just the deadline for that overall why. There is one thing that I tell myself frequently that might seem really trivial on the surface, but it's just that little extra amount of fuel that I need to get any work done, especially when I have absolutely zero motivation. Maybe I got a bad night's sleep too. I'm just so out of it and I don't want to do it at all. This is the one thing, the one mantra that I tell myself. I simply ask myself this: do you want the thing that you're working towards? If you do, then you don't have any other choice. Do I want to be a YouTuber and make money online for a living? I do? Then I have to put in the work. Even when I feel like crap, there's no other option. I have to do it if I want to make it happen. So really think about that. Really ask yourself, do you really want the why that you're working towards? If you do, you have no other choice but to do the work that is required of you. And if this saying, along with the 2 other things that I discussed, isn't enough to get you to do the work that you want to do, then either your why is not strong enough, or you don't actually want the thing that you're working towards that you think you really do. In that second case, subconsciously something's going on there where you think you want this thing that you're working towards, but really it's just not meant for you, or you really don't want it as much as you think you do. And that is totally okay. So maybe you do need to change your why up a little bit, or maybe you just need to work towards something else. I'm aware of the fact that my time on Earth is limited. I'm aware that I'm not going to get another shot at what I'm doing right now. If I come back to this universe, I probably won't be a human. Listen, I've been gifted, okay? So I gotta do this. I want to make it happen. I want to make my life the life that I want to live. Thank you to the patrons of this channel on Patreon. If you guys don't know what Patreon is, it's a platform where I'm putting out exclusive content similar to what I put on YouTube, as well as like behind the scenes stuff if you've ever wanted to grow your own YouTube channel and get an inside look into my editing process and stuff like that. It's all on my Patreon, patreon.com/ColeHastings. Also, you can go to the link in the description to check it out. Thank you guys. So that's it. That's the sequel video to my Why Discipline is Ruining Your Life, because most people don't struggle with being too disciplined. They struggle with being not disciplined enough. So I had to make a video for all those people. So thank you very much for watching. And yeah, go check out my other videos. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, because we're all about building ourselves up here. And that is it. I love you. Thank you so much for sticking around till the end of this video. I appreciate you guys, and I'm heading out.